Attorney General Pam Bondi has finally released the Epstein list, a collection of 300 politicians and prominent people who were named in the files, telling Congress that all the documents the Department of Justice was required to reveal have now been made public. Kinsey, are there big names that are going to be worried about this release?
I mean, I think like we had this conversation.
Imagine, if you will, 1,000 years of British history. Wars, plagues, coronations, and the occasional beheading, all brought to its knees, not by a foreign invader or a peasant revolt, but by a man who reportedly has a very specific preference for how his teddy bears are arranged on his bed. We're talking about Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, a man whose ability to read the room is about as sharp as a plastic butter knife. For decades, the House of Windsor has operated on the mantra of never complain, never explain. But Andrew has taken the never explain part to such a cosmic level that he's currently orbiting a planet of his own making. And the gravitational pull is threatening to drag the entire British monarchy into a black hole. It is a saga of greed, alleged silence, and a betrayal that cuts deeper than any tabloid headline. We are witnessing the slow motion car crash of an institution, and the driver is refusing to hit the brakes. Quick favor, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show. The air in London is thick with more than just the usual fog. There is a palpable sense of dread hanging over Buckingham Palace. While King Charles III attempts to modernize a monarchy for the 21st century, his younger brother is acting like a ghost that refuses to stop rattling its chains in the attic. The latest bombshells regarding Andrew's association with the late, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein have moved beyond mere social embarrassment and into the realm of a genuine constitutional crisis. Jane Moore, the sharp-tongued Loose Women panelist and veteran columnist, has sounded the alarm, suggesting that the monarchy may never recover from this. And frankly, she might be right. When the public starts looking at the royal family and sees not a symbol of national unity, but a protected enclave for questionable behavior, the very foundation of the crown begins to crack. It is like finding out the captain of your ship has been inviting sirens on board for tea while the crew pretend not to hear the singing. The silence coming from Royal Lodge is deafening. While Prince William, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and King Charles himself have had to navigate the choppy waters of political statements regarding concerning behavior, Andrew has remained as mute as a statue in Westminster Abbey. But unlike a statue, his presence is costing the family their reputation. This isn't just about a black sheep anymore. It is about an entire flock being judged by the actions of one member who refuses to acknowledge the mud on his fleece. The Metropolitan Police are now conducting inquiries into allegations involving Andrew's former royal protection officers. We're talking about the Royalty and Specialist Protection Branch, the elite of the elite, who are now accused of willfully turning a blind eye during visits to Epstein's private island. If the people paid by the taxpayer to protect the royals were actually witnessing or facilitating this mess, the betrayal isn't just personal, it is institutional. It is the ultimate I scratch your back, you look the other way while I visit a Caribbean island of ill repute arrangement. But how did we get here? How does a prince of the realm end up as a central protagonist in a scandal that reads like a gritty noir?
Being revealed that Prince William wanted Andrew banished quite a while ago, and he was fighting with his father about it. The Mirror's royal editor Russell Myers has written a joint biography of the Prince and Princess of Wales titled William and Catherine, The Intimate Inside Story, which draws on exclusive access to palace insiders. So the reports are that William really saw Andrew as someone that needed to be banished quite a while ago, and also as someone who was a stain on the royal family, Andrew.
According to Jane Moore, the answer is as old as time: financial greed. Andrew and his estranged yet live-in wife, Sarah Ferguson, apparently had a knack for spending money they didn't have. This financial greed propelled them to ingratiate themselves with a man like Epstein, a man who was more than happy to pay off debts. But as anyone who has ever watched a film about the mob knows, there is no such thing as a free lunch. And there is certainly no such thing as a free debt clearance from a billionaire with a penchant for gathering leverage. They stepped into a trap of their own making, and now the entire royal family is stuck in the teeth of it. It is the ultimate irony. The man who grew up in palaces found himself beholden to a man who bought his way into them. As the shadow of the Epstein saga grows longer, one has to wonder, if the walls of the Epstein palace could talk, what will they be screaming? Jane Moore points out that stories have long abounded regarding Andrew's towering temper and his legendary rudeness to staff. Imagine working in an environment where the boss throws a tantrum if pens aren't lined up correctly. In such a climate, would a footman or bodyguard really feel comfortable raising concerns about the models being ushered into the private quarters? Probably not. It creates a culture of fear and complicity. If the intelligence services and the police knew his every move, which they did, why didn't they speak up? Was it a case of don't ask, don't tell, or was the prince simply considered untouchable? The reality is that the royal institution may have inadvertently built a fortress around Andrew that kept the truth out as much as it kept him in. The betrayal here isn't just of the king, it is a betrayal of the public's trust. King Charles is currently trying to sell the slimmed down monarchy brand, a lean, mean charitable machine. But Andrew is the ultimate bloat. He is the legacy of an era where royals thought they were above the scrutiny of the common man. Every day he remains in the fold, every day he keeps his stubborn silence, he is effectively handling a sledgehammer to those who want to see the monarchy abolished. He is becoming the poster child for the anti-monarchy movement, and he doesn't even seem to realize it. Or perhaps he does and simply doesn't care. There is a specific kind of arrogance that comes with a royal title, a sense of divine right that suggests the rules of gravity and law simply don't apply. But the 2020s are a very different beast than the 1980s, and the public's patience is thinner than the gold leaf on the state coach. So, what is the solution? How does Charles save the firm from his own flesh and blood? Jane Moore has a rather radical and hilarious suggestion. She noted that a desert island off the coast of Wales recently went on the market for less than the price of a semi-detached house. It will be the perfect fit for a former prince. It is a punchy one-liner, but it carries a heavy truth. As long as Andrew is tucked away in Royal Lodge, he is a constant reminder of the scandal. He needs to be truly gone, not just retired from public life, but physically removed from the optics of royalty. The monarchy survives on prestige and the illusion of moral superiority. You cannot maintain that illusion when one of the main players is under a cloud of allegations so dark it could trigger a thunderstorm.
Questions around whether the monarchy will be able to survive this, and Andrew has certainly brought the royals to a tipping point. There are reports that the House of Windsor could fall apart, Andrew.
Well, it is, I would say, one of the biggest existential threats. I highlighted some of the several scandals that there have been just in the last 90 years. And this is probably one of the biggest to rock the royals. And it needs to be having a look at how are they dealing with it? Because you will know that royals don't travel by themselves.
When you are a royal, you aren't just a person, you're a brand, a symbol and a very expensive ornament on the mantelpiece of the state. When that ornament starts looking tarnished and starts hanging out with the wrong crowd, the public starts wondering why they are paying for the polish. Andrew and Sarah's penchant for living like billionaires on a millionaire's budget led them directly into the waiting arms of Epstein, a man who collected powerful people like others collect stamps, only with much more sinister intentions. This wasn't just a friendship, it was a transaction, and now the payback is a total collapse of dignity. Jane Moore's point about the supporting roles is perhaps the most chilling part of this entire saga. The betrayal of the system that is supposed to keep the country and its leaders honest. It turns the special relationship between the police and the royals into something that looks suspiciously like a cover-up. Charles is now left to pick up the pieces of a broken trust, and every time Andrew refuses to speak, the shards get sharper. The towering temper Moore describes isn't just a character flaw, it's a barrier to accountability. When a leader creates an environment where staff are too terrified to speak up, they lose their early warning system. Andrew essentially flew his reputation into a mountain because he had yelled at everyone who tried to tell him he was off course. And now the debris is raining down on the King's parade. It is a spectacle of spectacular proportions, and the world has a front row seat. William and Catherine's concerning behavior statements were a tactical retreat, a way of saying, we are not with him, but in the eyes of the global public, the brand is the royals. You can't just cut out one piece of the logo and expect the rest of it to look fine. The betrayal of the future of George, Charlotte, and Louis is the real tragedy here. They are inheriting a mess they didn't make, but one they will certainly have to pay for. If the monarchy crumbles, it won't be because of a revolution in the streets. It will be because of a failure of resolve in the palace. The choice is clear. The Duke of York goes, or the monarchy goes. There is no middle ground anymore. The stubborn silence must be met with a stubborn resolve from the king to protect the institution at all costs. Anything less is a betrayal of the oath he took at his coronation. The island of Wales is looking more like a bargain every day, especially if it buys the crown another 100 years of survival. The clock isn't just ticking for Andrew, it's ticking for the very concept of royalty in Great Britain. And as Jane Moore reminds us, the public isn't just looking for an apology, they're looking for an eviction notice. The narrative of the betrayed king is one that Charles must lean into if he wants to survive. He must position himself as the reformer who had to make the ultimate sacrifice for the good of the realm. But to do that, he has to actually make the sacrifice. No more private family matters, no more logistical difficulties in moving Andrew out of the royal lodge. The betrayal is public, and the response must be equally public. The monarchy is not a family business, it is a national service. And if a servant is found to be bringing the house into disrepute, they are dismissed. Why should a prince be any different? The mess that Moore refers to is a thick, sticky tar that Andrew has walked through, and he is currently tracking it all over the king's nice new carpets. If Charles doesn't act, he'll be remembered not as a king who modernized the throne, but as the king who let his brother burn it down for the sake of a quiet life. The stakes are monumental, the drama is visceral, and the ending has yet to be written. But one thing is certain, the silence is no longer an option. The monarchy is at a crossroads, and one path leads to a deserted island in Wales, while the other leads to the end of a millennium of tradition. Choose wisely, Your Majesty. The world is watching, and we have all run out of popcorn. If we look closer at the supporting cast Jane Moore mentioned, we find a web of complicity that is arguably more dangerous than Andrew's individual actions. The royalty and specialist protection officers are not just security guards, they are the gatekeepers of the monarchy's physical and moral boundaries. If they were indeed turning a blind eye, it suggests that the firm operates under a different set of laws than the people it represents. This is the betrayal that fuels the fire of every anti-monarchist from London to Glasgow. It's the idea that if you have the right prefix before your name, the normal rules of human decency and legal scrutiny are merely suggestions. King Charles is trying to build a slimmed-down monarchy, but how can you slim down the institution when there is a massive, unaddressed elephant in the room wearing a naval uniform and refusing to vacate the premises? Andrew's presence is a constant system error in the king's new operating system. The betrayal is done. The king must now be the king. The future of the crown is in his hands, and the island is only a helicopter ride away. The end. Thank you for watching.